All right, let's get right into it. We're going to pull back the curtain on a huge and honestly a mostly hidden economic story that's playing out in India's digital space right now. And this isn't a story about massive tech giants. No, it's about something much more personal. And it's being powered by a consumer you might not expect. So let's just start with a number, shall we? 200 million. Now, that's not some far-off prediction. That is the estimated number of women in India right now who are part of the addressable market for digital services. It is an absolutely enormous opportunity that's been hiding in plain sight. So, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the hidden market itself. Then, we'll meet the new digital consumer who's really driving all of this. After that, we'll check out the kinds of tools they're looking for, figure out how to unlock all this potential, and finally, wrap up with why the future here is all about finding your niche. So what is actually going on here? I mean, this isn't about the next big social network or some giant enterprise software. It's about something totally different, a much more personal type of software. And it's all made possible by a pretty unique model. The term for it is micro-SaaS. And really, the easiest way to think about it is like boutique software, right? Instead of a giant, one-size-fits-all product, this stuff is usually built by a really small team, sometimes even just one person. And its whole purpose is to solve one specific problem for a very specific group of people. It's lean, it's focused, and it can move super fast. And the difference is just night and day. On one side, you've got the giants. Think Microsoft Office. It's complicated, packed with features, built for literally everyone. But on the other side, you have micro SaaS. So imagine an app that only helps you learn a traditional craft, or a tool designed simply to help you budget your monthly expenses. It doesn't need a huge team or millions in funding. It just has to solve one problem and solve it beautifully. Okay, so who is this model actually for? Well, this whole trend, this whole movement is being driven by a really powerful new protagonist in India's digital story. So let's meet her. Just look at the speed of this change. Between 2014 and 2021, the percentage of women using digital payments literally doubled. And what's really interesting is that this growth rate is actually faster than men. So this isn't just about more people coming online. It's about a rapid acceleration from a key demographic that's closing the gap in digital finance. And this growing comfort with digital money, it directly changes behavior. A recent study found that 60% of women now prefer to shop online. That's a higher rate than for men. You see, that trust in digital transactions, it's the foundation. It's the launchpad for what comes next, which is paying for software and services. And we have to remember, we're talking about an incredibly powerful economic force here. Industry reports consistently show that women in India are the ones driving more than 70% of all purchasing decisions for their households and for themselves. That huge influence is now shifting online in a big way. Now, of course, this isn't a simple, rosy picture everywhere. There are very real barriers that still exist for a lot of people. You have gaps in digital literacy, completely valid fears about online security and fraud, and, of course, affordability is a huge factor. For some, even having your own smartphone that you control isn't a given. So seeing these challenges is every bit as important as seeing the opportunity. All right, so we've met the consumer. Now, what kind of software are we really talking about? This isn't your typical office software. These are deeply personal tools for a modern life. Think guided journaling apps that can fit into a busy schedule, or platforms where you can learn traditional art forms right from your home, or simple budgeting tools, and even parenting apps that give you activities in your own local language. Okay, but this brings up the most obvious question, right? Especially in a market that's known to be price sensitive. What are people actually willing to pay for personal software like this? And the answer is, it varies a lot. And that's really the key. The prices are designed to be accessible. A great journaling app might only be a few hundred rupees for the entire year. That parenting app with daily activities, it could be as low as 365 rupees a year. That is literally 1 rupee a day. This focus on making things affordable is what makes the whole model tick. Of course, a subscription model is completely useless if paying is a headache. But in India, there's one piece of technology that has changed absolutely everything. The engine that makes this entire personal software economy run is UPI AutoPay, and its takeover has been just staggering. It's already captured more than half of all recurring payment setups in the country, blowing past credit cards. Why? Because it's simple, it's secure, and it's built for India. For any app maker looking at this market, integrating UPI AutoPay, well, it's not an option. It's the whole game. Okay, so we get the market, we get the consumer, we get the tools. Now let's get strategic. How do you actually succeed here? What does the blueprint for unlocking all this potential really look like? So, naturally, the big question is, where should you focus your energy? Where are the biggest opportunities still waiting? The white spaces on the digital map that are still wide open. The opportunities are not generic. They are super specific. We're talking about apps built first in regional languages, not just poorly translated as an afterthought. We're talking about tools that mix utility with community, so you can learn something and connect with other people doing it too. Content that's hyper-localized to specific Indian cultures and lifestyles. These are the real untapped areas. So this all points to a really clear 5-step blueprint. Number 1, go vernacular. Language is your first and most important bridge. 2, build a real community, because that connection creates loyalty that features alone can't buy. 3, solve one specific problem. That's the soul of micro SaaS. 4, prioritize trust and security, because that's the biggest hurdle for new users. And 5, offer a great free version so people can see the value for themselves before they ever have to pay. So when we pull all of this together and look to the future, what's the big idea? What's the main takeaway? Well, one single theme becomes crystal clear. The big idea is this. In a world that is just full of bloated, complicated software, the path to success isn't about adding more features. It's about radical simplification. It's about finding one specific need and then serving that need beautifully. And that really just leaves us with one final, and I think pretty exciting thought. We've seen the massive scale of this market, and we've seen the power of small, focused, personal software. So the real question for all of us to think about is, what simple, elegant niche app is just waiting to be built? What tool could actually change the daily life of millions of women in India? The answer to that question, well, that's where this entire story goes next.